In 2011, the United States Congress set aside $27 million of taxpayers' money for NASCAR military sponsorships. That included $20 million for the National Guard racing team and $7 million for Army racing. That same year, Congress cut $75 million in benefits for homeless veterans.
There's nothing inherently wrong with a NASCAR ad. The problem is that we don't realize that every single homeless veteran is a much larger and louder advertisement than what's going on the front hood of that car.
Rajiv wrote about the decision in an editorial for Time.com. Rajiv has been a regular contributor to the site, but he's not a journalist by training. His writing career began with a blog that he kept while leading a platoon in Afghanistan.
I didn't have internet for a good time while I was out there. I would literally burn these articles onto a disk, and then they would get to my parents. My parents would upload them.
By the end of his tour, Rajiv was reaching thousands of readers around the world. One of those readers was an editor for Time.
We can spend millions, hundreds of millions of dollars on ads that give our pitch. But at the end of the day, every single individual that's about to enlist in the United States military, they're going to do their own homework. What was once just a one-dimensional character that was be all you can be, it is now a human being on a Facebook page that can say, listen, I came out and my VA benefits didn't kick in. That three-dimensional narrative is now what people pay attention to when making their decisions on a day-to-day basis. We don't take the institutional speaker box as the message now. Listen, this isn't unique. Corporations, they face this challenge every day.
Advertising can't bullshit anyone anymore. There's too much information out there about brands, about experiences. You can't pull the wool over someone's eyes.
Traditional advertising, I think, is finished.
What I always say about transparency is it's not a choice. It's going to happen. The only choice is, does it happen to you or do you participate in it? That's a weak ad campaign. State Farm is there. I got it. You're there. That's really the minimum.
Rather than spend a lot of money on paid advertiser and paid marketing, instead let's take most of that money and invest it into customer service and customer experience.
At the essence of every great brand is trust.
Advertising, it is going to become a word that we look at fondly and wonder, oh my God, they used to do advertising long ago.
Corporations have grown bigger than countries. Of the world's 100 largest economic entities, 51 are corporations. Corporations are making more, spending more, and consuming more of the world's resources than ever before. But there's one area where corporations are not gaining, where they're actually losing control. This is the last battleground where people, not multinational companies, may have the upper hand. This is advertising. We used to watch ads to get information about products. We used to sit through commercial breaks. But most importantly, we used to trust what brands told us. As the years passed, that trust was tested.
Winston is the one filter cigarette that delivers flavor 20 times a pack. Winston's got that filter blend.
Nose, throat, and accessory organs not adversely affected by smoking Chesterfields.
We learned that cigarettes were killing us. We learned that the auto industry put more emphasis on imagery than safety. We discovered child labor in our shoes and lead in our toys. And then it got worse.
Federal investigators put out their final report today on that BP oil spill.
Edelman issues this annual trust survey. The trust survey this year, which came out in January, showed the lowest level of trust in U.S. corporations in history. They do not believe companies. They do not believe CEOs. They do not believe advertisements.
So I think brands are really naive to think that they have full control of their perception out there today. I think with social media and the speed at which stuff travels today, there's no way to hide it.
We've lost our faith in corporate messages. Now, we turn elsewhere to find the truth, and we share what we find. There are 2.5 billion searches conducted on Google every day. There are over 1,000 Facebook and Twitter posts per second. The average teen sends a text message every 20 minutes he's awake. Meanwhile, there is more video uploaded to YouTube in a month than the major TV networks broadcast in the last 60 years.
$74 million cut from homeless veteran benefits.
With the help of social media, consumers aren't just exposing unethical behavior. They're exposing the quality of the products they buy.
Asics split second 8 wrestling shoes, excellent lateral support, 5 stars. Everlast gel glove wraps, not enough wrist support, 3 stars. My name's Amy Krajewski. I'm semi-retired, and my 2 favorite things are coming here to the boxing gym and reviewing products online. I consider myself an average consumer. The only difference is I review everything I buy, whether that's beauty products, home and garden products, boxing equipment, sports equipment. I review it. To date, I've written over 900 reviews, and those reviews have been read by over 1.4 million people. I'm a fairly opinionated person, but in social situations, I usually keep those opinions to myself. Writing reviews for me is a great way to get my voice out there and heard. CoverGirl Smoky Shadow Blast? Crap! You know, the lovely Drew Barrymore and all her, full-page ads looking glorious. This stuff is crap. It wears off in a minute. When I first started writing online reviews, they were not that common. Today, that's really changed. And I really think very few people buy anything anymore online without at least checking to see what people are saying about it. You would think that companies, knowing their products are being reviewed and talked about, would, encourage them to make better products. But, I don't think that's necessarily true. I'm not sure at all that it's true. There's still a lot of crap out there. Trust me.
You're watching an ad, Crayola Colored Bubbles. It looks awesome. Your kid would love this. So you go online, you're about to buy, and then you can't miss it. It's inches from ad to cart. And it's bad. Every single reviewer gave it 1 star, but only because 0 stars is not an option. If that isn't enough, they've taken pictures, and they look a little different than the commercial. And although most purchases are still made in stores, this information follows us wherever we go. More than 80% of smartphone owners have used their device to research a product. 90% of consumers trust peer reviews. Only 20% trust advertising.
What can brands learn from me? I don't know. For me, it's staying true to myself. I can remember coming in when I first got signed up, and with an agent, and it was 12 suits around the table. And they were trying to create my image. And I think those that have their image created, they never last all the way. And I told them from day one, image is reality. What you see is what you get.
Over the past decade, consumers have changed dramatically. But advertising is almost exactly the same as it was 50 years ago. Dollars have shifted online, but the strategies remain the same. Print ads became banner ads. Junk mail became spam. 30-second TV ads became 30-second pre-rolls.
Display advertising put blinders on a lot of digital creativity that probably could have happened over the last decade. And I think that it made it really easy for organizations to just shift money on balance sheets and not have to think different.
Everybody is risk averse. This is not Alcoholics Anonymous. This is Advertisers Anonymous. We all understand, but none of us has got the guts to do anything.
Why do we have Aflac?
Aflac!
And Major Medical?
Major Medical, boy! Yeah!
Change is difficult for any industry. Just ask health insurance companies. They've had an image problem for years.
Our healthcare dollars continue to be poured into their profits, bonuses, and administrative costs that do nothing to make us healthy, that often actually go toward figuring out how to avoid covering people.
Like a safety net.
So what's the best way to combat this negative image? Talking animals.
Aflac. Aflac. Aflac.
A little bit more duck.
More duck. Less human. Too human. Yeah.
Too human.
Okay.
And to throw yourself into it a little, Joel.
Right.
You're quacking.
Right.
You're moving.
Right.
It's like become the duck. Start making you.
Ducks are embarrassed.
Yeah.
Aflac. Aflac. Aflac.
I talked to the CEO of Aflac. I talked to all the PR people at Aflac. I tried out to be the Aflac Duck. I wrote a column about it. I still am not sure what they do. That's the thing. I have farmers. I don't know why. I don't know what their ad is. I confuse farmers and State Farm. They may be the same thing, but I think they're separate things. Why are they all involved in farms? When I was a kid and I had to sit through these things, I knew the ads, I knew the jingles. I can sing you jingles from the 70s and early 80s. Now, I TiVo through them so quickly. I click on that X so quickly. There's so much advertising. It's just a blur to me at this point.
I'm through with romance. I'm through with love.
I think advertising is less effective than ever before because it's coming at you in so many different directions. Is there anywhere I can look that doesn't have an ad?
Today's consumers are exposed to 5,000 marketing messages per day. That's more than double the previous generation. The only thing creepier than the fact that we had a camera in the bathroom is the fact that somebody is trying to sell us something while we urinate.
There's nothing wrong in making a great ad. I mean, ads are wonderful. Well, we have made an ad be everything. The moment you try to make it everything, it ends up being nothing.
Advertising has always played an essential role in how we function as an economy and as a society. It's the connection point between consumers and corporations. But the definition of advertising has to evolve. Companies have to shift away from just saying they're great to actually being great.
Brands are just a collection of experiences. It's not about coming up with this big branding campaign necessarily. It's about how you're creating lots of little experiences, small experiences that are going to get them wanting to come back for more. And so it has to start small. It's these small steps that lead to much larger sets of experiences that then build a brand from the bottom up. It's not from the top down.
There's always going to be a place for funny, creative, emotionally engaging ads. But what if advertising can be more than just ads? What if delivering better products and services is a form of advertising? What if, instead of telling fictional stories, advertising can help companies be more transparent? Or more socially responsible? Or just more helpful? What if advertising is about making your customers happy? Corporations, at their worst, have wreaked havoc on our planet. But at their best, they innovate, they build, they move the world forward. What if advertising could help make corporations better?
There is such a thing as truth in advertising. And really good advertising can put such a spotlight on a brand that it sort of can force them to try to be more honest or more responsible.
Advertising is going to change because we are going to become part of the consumer's experience, one they look forward to. Experiences they want to be a part of, that they want to remember. And that is what you strive for. That is where advertising will be when we look back and say, they used to do advertising in those old days.
If you drive people to a website where they can give a subservient chicken orders in a really kind of seamy living room that looks like a low-quality porn film, people are going to be interested.
For 20 years, Alex Bogusky was advertising's most gifted storyteller.
I'm a PC. I'm a PC too.
It's my money maker.
You know what else is cool about being a mannequin? We can twist our heads around to check out our butts.
The stories he told were funny, irreverent, ironic. His own story was more straightforward. He simply dominated the industry, transforming a small agency in Miami into the top creative shop in the world. They won Agency of the Year 13 times, and Alex was awarded Creative Director of the Decade. And that's where the story takes a turn. He started saying stuff like,
a fundamentalist capitalist is as dangerous as any other kind of fundamentalist.
And
the people that gravitate towards advertising to children, someone said it's sort of like pedophilia, that it's just unnatural.
He wrote a book about America's unhealthy obsession with oversized meals. This coming from the man who helped create this ad.
The Burger King Triple Whopper! Eat like a snake!
The conversations that I would have with my clients at really big corporations, they just seemed false. You didn't want to have any more fake conversations, I guess. I was done.
At the age of 46 and at the height of his career, Alex quit the advertising industry. Greensboro, Alabama is one of the poorest small towns in America.
Capitalism's in crisis. We don't have to look very far around. I mean, you can look in this town and there's crisis and it's been around for a while. You look at middle-class America, I mean, they got hammered. It's really important, if you're going to innovate on corporate culture, to get pretty far from corporate culture. We're here because we want to start a new kind of bicycle company. It's a bamboo bicycle company. These bikes last longer than steel and aluminum bikes. A stand of bamboo sequesters more CO2 than any other biomass. There's a lot of energy around bringing it to Alabama as a cash crop.
Half the kids in Greensboro grow up in poverty. In a town of less than 3,000, where many of the storefronts are permanently shuttered, Alex is betting that one company can make an impact on the community while making profits at the same time. The Bamboo Bike is the pilot program for a larger Bogusky project called Common. His goal is to launch 1,000 socially conscious ventures over the next few years.
I think I'm not the only one with that pent-up frustration around the constricted conversation that's happening in corporate America.
When Common has a board meeting, it's broadcast live, online, and it's not all good news.
We were having real conversations about where we would pollute, where we would mitigate that, and everybody involved was out of some aspect of corporate America, and I think they were just jazzed to finally be having that conversation. Brand is, in my mind, going to hopefully change radically from what's been a fictional story that stood between you and the company to real-time, up-to-the-second truth about your company, and can you, through that, compel me to buy? shaping real-time, genuine, amazing stories which are out there. That's going to be, I think, what people in advertising are going to be asked to do. And I hope that's what they're asked to do. But what I always say about transparency is it's not a choice, right? It's going to happen. The only choice is, does it happen to you or do you participate in it? And when it happens to you, it's proven to be really ugly.
In 1997, researcher Dara O'Rourke was at the forefront of the transparency movement. He traveled to Vietnam as part of a UN study on factory conditions.
One of the factories that I did research in was a Nike factory. It was actually a Korean-owned factory producing Nike shoes. 2/3 of the women in this factory had respiratory diseases. There were violations of overtime and wages and sexual harassment. And at the time, Nike basically said, not our factories. It's a Korean dude in Vietnam, go talk to him. And so I came back to the US and I wrote a little report.
As reports of labor abuses flooded the news, Nike's market cap fell by over $2 billion.
Their running shoe is rubber, nylon, a little bit of color and design, but what they sell is a brand and a lifestyle and an image and a reputation, and that was being threatened. That was in 1997, and that was really just the beginning of the internet. Now, the flow of information about problems in your global supply chains is going 1,000 times faster than it was.
In 2007, Dara founded Good Guide, a website that puts transparency into the hands of everyday consumers. Good Guide rates over 100,000 products for health, environmental impact, and social responsibility. The app is totally customizable. Good Guide doesn't care whether you want to save the environment, save your beauty, or simply save money, as long as you see the information that matters to you. When you're shopping online, Good Guide automatically warns you when you're about to buy a product that doesn't meet your standards. It also recommends alternatives. With the Good Guide mobile app, you can walk into a store with X-ray vision.
That was the original impetus for Good Guide, really to cut through all the marketing, to cut through all the claims on the package of new and improved or natural or non-toxic or whatever, so that consumers really have much more power than they've ever had before, and they can vote with their dollars. Good Guide is a unique offering, but it is the tip of the iceberg of new types of information coming to consumers. They basically have a supercomputer, which can scan barcodes, can surf the web. Literally, they couldn't 3 years ago. Second is the science of analyzing the environmental and the health and the toxicology of these things has also improved greatly over the last 3 years. Where did the petroleum come from that goes into your plastic toy? Where did the food come from that's in your organic cereal? We couldn't even know that 3 years ago. And then the third big change is consumer demand for this.
It's hard to talk about, Ken, but I've contracted something.
Barbie, I'm so sorry. What is it?
It's lead poisoning.
As we've been doing this project, there has been scandal after scandal in the marketplace.
Links between high consumption of BPA and diseases like heart disease, fertility problems.
Russia has banned all imports of EU vegetables.
How would you as a parent even know that it was in a product you were buying for your child?
That has turned these issues into mainstream consumer issues.
As for Nike, the company has made major efforts to clean up its supply chain. Nike is now one of the highest rated apparel companies on Good Guide.
I'm going to hand you stuff and you tell me what it is, okay? I'll ask you a question and you tell me the answer, okay? All right. 1 second.
Transparency is still in its infancy. As technology evolves, consumers will too.
What's your name?
Superman.
Superman? What's this?
Baseball.
Baseball. Very good. Can I see it? Thank you. What shape is that?
Triangle.
Very good. Can I see it? Thank you. What color is that?
Green.
What color?
Green.
Very good. Can I see it? Tyler, will you turn this on and play your new Cars 2 game?
Before kids even learn the basic shapes and colors, they interact with information that was previously only available in supercomputers. Access to information is growing at an exponential rate. Tyler's world will be completely transparent. Engineers at Corning are developing interactive glass that turns every surface we touch into a tablet computer. These images may seem futuristic, but the underlying technology already exists. Within a few years, we will be surrounded by screens wherever we go, every moment of the day. Pranav Mistry of MIT is doing away with screens altogether, enabling ratings and reviews to be projected wherever we want. Information will become more and more present in our lives. Not all of that information will be useful.
Are you ready for the mobile marketing era? Do you even know what that means? Some people call it the mobile banner mania.
There may actually be a war going on in the retail outlet, in online in the next couple of years, where one side will be slamming us with ads everywhere we look, trying to weasel into other parts of our life, into our family conversations, into our photo sharing conversations, all over. They're going to be trying to infiltrate. And at the same time, consumers are going to have tools to see through all of that.
There is a war going on, and it's not just protests in the street. The real battles will be fought in the retail aisle, on smartphones, in product reviews and blogs. The stakes of this war could not be higher. Consumers are just beginning to realize the power they have. Meanwhile, corporations face a choice. They can try to stop the revolution, or they can embrace it.
Patagonia is a great example of a strong brand that has basically said, we're going to go as transparent as we can.
Anybody working in the environmental field knows if you're not talking about what's wrong, you're not telling the whole story.
You don't have to be worried about telling everybody of the bad things you're doing, as long as you say that we're working on these things. But if you try to be dishonest, try to hide it, it's going to come back and bite you in the ass.
They did something a couple of years ago called the Footprint Chronicles, where they put up on their website the story of the products that they were selling.
It was one of the first really progressive approaches to transparency. Through their choosing, they came to people and they said, we're going to show you how our products are made. When I looked at it, it's not good news.
This is Patagonia, like the environmental outdoor brand, talking about, we put toxic chemicals on your jacket you're wearing.
And it's so common to say, oh, what's the challenge? What's the opportunity? It's like, no, it's bad. It's just bad. So we just laid it out there of here's what's good, here's what's bad, and then what we think. And it was a scary notion.
The really amazing thing was that I think it actually increased their credibility.
If we put it out there, it turns a lot of confrontations into a conversation.
The consumer has proven that they don't expect perfection. Time and time again, when companies have used transparency right, the consumer hasn't looked at the truth and said, oh, it's not perfect enough, I'm moving on. They're very realistic about it.
Clear is the new clever. And you need to be clear in your messages. Clever doesn't work anymore. I don't think advertising is enjoying the same luxury it once had. We're all skeptics today. We've all heard it far too many times. And so if you tell me a very clear message, I get it. And I can ask questions and I can understand it. If you're trying to be clever with me, then I think you're trying to pull one over and try to trick me onto something else.
Recently, Patagonia was called upon by Walmart because Walmart wanted to figure out their sustainability index. Suddenly, this relatively itty-bitty company had infected ideas that were going to be radical in a company that represents the 19th largest economy on Earth. Walmart is bigger than Norway.
At Walmart, energy makes up a huge part of our cost. So if we can control that cost, then we can control the cost to the store. The problem with fossil fuel is the prices are variable. That's why we're here in Texas at the No Trees Wind Farm. We're using wind power.
They're convinced that they can actually make more money, and that's
That's where we come in, because I'm convinced of that myself. Every time we make a decision that's right for the planet, it makes us more money.
Walmart isn't the only huge corporation that sees profits in going green. Unilever owns hundreds of brands and is the second biggest advertiser in the world. It recently announced a plan to cut its environmental footprint in half while doubling its revenue, all in the next 10 years.
Waste costs money. It costs money to produce it, it costs money to get rid of it. That's the most basic level. But if we take it up a few levels, you need to have a healthy society to have a healthy business. To have a healthy business in an unhealthy society is incredibly unsustainable.
Every day, Unilever products are used by over 2 billion people. That's a bigger constituency than any country on Earth. At this scale, a simple decision can have a major impact.
One of the things that we say is that we can do well by doing good. A really good example would be the concentration of liquid detergent. In taking water out, concentrating the detergent, it's enabled to have smaller packaging. It's lowered the shipping costs for our customers and storage costs on shelf. When there's a win all round, there's absolutely no reason why we shouldn't make the planet benefit.
It sounds like a small change, but consider that Unilever detergent is used by 1 out of 3 households in the world. At that level, there's no such thing as a small change.
In the digital world, I think brands are defined by what they say, but more importantly, what they do. Now, what advertising can do is introduce to new consumers what it stands for. But ultimately, it's how it behaves, what it's done, is how it will be judged.
Compared to Unilever, Under Armour is a much smaller company, but it's also making big changes to its business model. Its green clothing line starts with used water bottles, which are spun into high-performance fabric. In 2011, Under Armour recycled 2 million plastic bottles.
The definition of advertising is certainly changed and evolved, is that it's not built by those who spend the most money win. It's about those who have the best product and those who are about driving and dictating with a point of view. The best merchants are the ones who dictate the future, not the ones who are trying to predict the future. So we are now pushing our mills, our suppliers on, we need more renewable fibers and fabrics from you, because our consumer is interested in this, but more importantly, we're interested in going this direction. Consumers typically won't pay more because you're telling them it's a green story. But if I can create a product that performs better and it's recyclable and it's at a fair price, we call it a gift with purchase. It is like that thing where you feel great about wearing it. The principles of green, the principles of renewable are completely in line with the principles of business. It means doing more with less.
Again and again, innovative companies have proven that doing good doesn't have to be a sacrifice. It can be a competitive advantage. Since introducing its green clothing line, Under Armour has increased its market cap by 250%. Unilever's sustainability measures have already saved the company $400 million. Walmart has saved $3.4 billion simply by reducing the size of its packaging. Just as important, all three have created powerful, true stories that help build their brands. Return on investment. It's the ultimate driver of any corporate decision. In 2005, Chanel invested in an ad starring Nicole Kidman. It is the most expensive ad ever produced, costing $20 million.
I love you.
In 2010, Pepsi took the same budget, $20 million, and they made a different kind of investment. They gave it away. Every month, Pepsi accepted 1,000 proposals for projects that refreshed the world. The best proposals were chosen by audience vote to receive grant money.
We were all thinking, okay, are we gonna get enough submissions? 16 hours, poof, it exploded in 16 hours. We had the submissions actually shut down because we hit our quota. And then the next month, it happened in 16 minutes.
In its first year, Pepsi Refresh received 8 billion page views and 80 million votes. That's more votes than Barack Obama received in his presidential campaign. By comparison, Chanel's $20 million ad only has 4 million views on YouTube. Pepsi doesn't pretend that soda is healthy, but it redefined the brand by putting consumers in the driver's seat.
It was less about, hey, let's do good for the sake of doing good, but let's create a platform so that our consumers can bring to life what they want and their passion. You know, I spent a lot of my time going around, meeting with some of the participants in it, winners, and people would hug me. I've never been hugged for any work that I've ever done in my life. I barely get hugged at home. This is kind of where I grew up. I was a geek, I was a nerd, I was a programmer, a developer. And then I came out of school, and it was the boom of the internet, and there were parties, and it was amazing, and there was this weird exuberance that we could change the world, right? And then all of a sudden, we created display media, and we all of a sudden took an old concept called display, these ads, and we plugged it into this medium that could have changed the world, right? Now I think we're breaking out of those old terms, and you have to kind of tear down this notion of advertising, which is stuck in this command and control paradigm. The stuff that you knew that worked before no longer works, and what's crazy is that that stuff worked for 100 years, and now all of a sudden, 20 years, it's all gone. And so that is a frightening time, and so I think that that fear stops people from seeing the excitement on the other side.
Being a great company is the new brand, because there's not going to be anything in between the consumer and the reality of that company.
America spends $150 billion a year on advertising, more than triple the amount of any other country. But while the U.S. is #1 in advertising, it's ranked 11th in research and development.
Invest in your products a lot and invest a bit less in advertising. Those of you who are in advertising may hang me in effigy, but trust me, your advertising will go a lot further if you're selling us something that's a lot better.
In a transparent world, the product is the message, the service is the message. I think the division between marketing and product development is gradually going to dissolve. Historically, marketers had a role in product development. Their role was limited because the tools were limited.
What we're going to do is try a couple of these salad dressings.
There used to be one way to find out what customers wanted. You asked them.
You know what I think this is? Yeah. This would be the compromise for a woman feeling creative.
I see.
I think that it has a place in our American way of life.
For 50 years, market researchers used the same methods, and they got the same results. Recently, things have changed. Today, neuroscientists can plug directly into a consumer's subconscious. They use high-density EEG sensors to measure activity across 64 sectors of the brain at 2,000 times per second. The eyes are tracked to determine visual focus, while electrical variations in the skin are linked to emotional engagement. Dr. A.K. Pradeep is founder and CEO of NeuroFocus, a global leader in the field of neuromarketing research.
Utilizing neuroscience yields a variety of rich insights that not only shape ads, that's the easy part, shape products, shape packaging, entirely revolutionize in-store experiences, all right, and finally build a very personal connection for the consumer. An experience has evocative moments for the brain. Everybody thinks the big moments are you come in, you look at a product, think about it, you buy, take it home. Those are moments, right? We find that the brain's best enjoyment and activity many times is in moments between moments.
Hello, and thanks for flying with Virgin America. A few announcements as we begin our flight. For the 0.0001% of you who have never operated a seatbelt before, it works like this. Just insert the metal end into the buckle until it clicks, and pull on the loose end to tighten.
Come on, I really don't need to be told how to put my bloody seatbelt on. And the fact that somebody would relate to that, all right, and say, I know this is ridiculous, but still let me tell you about it, all right? It is an important point of connection. I would say it's a moment between moments because everybody knows that's the video, then we go on with the rest of our lives. That which you take for granted and you say is trivial, figuring that out is brilliant.
6 a.m. at LAX. You're waiting in line at US Air. It looks how you feel. Tired. Colorless. Compare this to the Virgin America ticket counter down the hall. It's actually human. Virgin isn't going to get you from point A to point B any quicker or any cheaper, but they nail the moments between A and B. Flowers, colors, atmosphere. It's the little things that count. Virgin America spends $10 million per year on marketing. The typical major airline spends close to $200 million.
As a startup company, our advertising budgets are really small. We've put a lot of focus and energy into our product experience. Look at every single touch point and see how you can do it better. Having a better product, having a seatback system where you can order food on demand, even bringing full fleet Wi-Fi to the market, all of those things actually are advertising because people want to talk about it. They're going to share that story with their friends.
Love Virgin Airlines, yeah. It's the same plane. They just took care in very cheap ways of a lot of the things I didn't like about flying.
There's 300 Virgin companies. You don't have to know much to know if you see Virgin and airline, it means good times in the sky. If you see Virgin and bridal, it means probably shorter wedding dresses than typical. And as a consumer, that's great shorthand.
People are better looking in purple light. You feel sexier, and it's a plane. That's sort of a place that you don't usually feel sexy.
Do you think people
I feel like you could get laid on that plane. I'll give you a call. Oh.
Let me get that for you. Here you go, cutie.
It is the brand taking an entirety of an experience, isolating the points of fun, making them better, and taking the points of pain and either diminishing them or demolishing them. It is a survival game. Those that don't do this will die, will be gone, because the consumers have so much choice. They will never suffer these things.
They're really pains in the ass, the next generation. If you treat them badly, they will make you pay.
United, you broke my Taylor guitar. United, some big help you are. You broke it, you should fix it. You're liable, just admit it. I should have flown with someone else or gone by car. 'Cause United breaks guitars.
A lot of companies have ideas for improving their customer experience. The challenge is making it happen. How do you change your organization and train your people to deliver a great experience? In search of answers, we took a trip to the Zappos headquarters in Las Vegas.
It is such a good night to kiss. It is such a good night to dance. It is such a good night to Scooby-Doo-Doo-Doo, Scooby-Doo-Doo-Doo, Scooby-Doo-Doo-Doo love.
One more thing I'm going to do for you for being such a good sport and understanding that sometimes we all make mistakes and these things happen. I'm going to go ahead and upgrade your account to VIP with us. Awesome. We ordered one pair of Nike Cortezes. We ended up talking for like 2 hours and 50 minutes. And I told him like he didn't feel like a customer to me. I felt like we were bros just walking around the mall together shopping for shoes.
It is such a good night to kiss. It is such a good night to dance. It is such a good night.
No company is more synonymous with customer service than Zappos. The online retailer has sold millions of shoes while spending relatively little on paid advertising. Instead, Zappos has invested in free shipping, a 24/7 call center, and most of all, the simple idea that happy employees will lead to happy customers.
Rather than just say culture is important, let's actually make it the #1 priority of the company. We get the culture right, then most of the other stuff like delivering great customer service and customer experience happen naturally as a natural byproduct.
We're Zappos family. We're fun and weird. 'Cause after all, we love spreading cheer. Customer service is what we do. Come check us out. We're more than just shoes.
Hi, my name is Jerry. I'm the mayor. I'm here to make sure everybody's happy. As you see in my cube, we give free hugs.
The Zappos corporate culture is casual, a little dorky, and most of all, happy. On a typical afternoon, you'll see a potluck lunch, a parade, a giant shoe, slick dance moves, a guy in a leopard suit, and lots of smiles. The level of happiness in this place is almost ridiculous. The company throws blowout parties, provides free healthcare for all employees, and even keeps a full-time life coach on staff.
We know for a fact that if a person is, happy personally, they're also happy professionally.
It turns out that happiness is great for business. In 2008, Zappos hit $1 billion in sales and hasn't looked back. The growth has been driven almost entirely by word-of-mouth recommendations and repeat customers. In 2010, the company received 25,000 job applications for 250 openings. That makes Zappos more selective than Harvard.
Hey Zappos, my name is Tyler, and I'm trying to get a job with you guys, so what I did is I wrote a little song based on your guys' 10 core values.
At the same time, we had to ask, in a company where everyone is so happy, can they still make the hard decisions? Is there a happy way to fire somebody?
A lot of companies have these things called core values or guiding principles, and they kind of read like a press release that the marketing department put out. Maybe you learn about it on day one and then it just becomes this meaningless plaque on the lobby wall. So for us, we wanted to avoid that. We wanted to come up with committable core values, and by committable, meaning we're actually willing to hire or fire people based on those values, completely independent of their actual job performance. Even if they're a superstar in their specific job function, if they're bad for our culture, we'll fire them for that reason alone. And I think that's something that most companies aren't willing to do. A company's culture and a company's brand are really just two sides of the same coin. The brand is just a lagging indicator of the culture. Companies are becoming more and more transparent whether they like it or not. Everyone's hyper-connected and information travels so quickly, and so that lag time between brand and culture is actually becoming less and less, and that is really scary for companies where the brand that they're trying to portray is different from their internal culture.
Good evening, thank you for calling Zappos. This is Kevin.
For Zappos, their culture is reflected in their interactions with customers, as well as their media coverage. When they do spend money on paid advertising, they let the culture speak for itself. Their recent TV campaign consisted of transcripts of real customer service calls.
It's a great day here at Zappos. How may I help you?
I received the most beautiful dress this morning.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, it's gorgeous. My problem is I don't know who it's from.
Okay, let me take a look here.
Okay. Does this happen a lot?
No, not really. Who do you think it's from?
Is it from Eddie?
No.
Okay. Daryl? He's like stalking me. Okay. Is it from Jesse?
Yes.
Ah! Rachel, it's from Jesse! Oh my gosh, she's so hot.
Transparency is no longer a choice. How brands deal with it is a choice that will determine the fate of corporations and ripple through the lives of consumers. More than ever, the definition of advertising is fluid. The question is, what do we want advertising to be? A disruption? A distraction? A fictional story that if we tell it enough times begins to sound true? A version of the past we keep repeating because we're afraid of the future? Maybe advertising could be something else. Maybe it's telling a true story in a new way. Maybe it's solving a small problem. Maybe it's admitting to a big problem. Maybe it's helping somebody get through the day. Brands, advertisers, consumers, we all have choices to make.
Change is hard when you're a successful company because you're good at selling one thing and you know how to sell it and you've been successful selling it. You're making billions of dollars to say, okay, there's a better way to do it.
There is an atmosphere among a lot of agencies of just fear, like fear to make a decision.
To the skeptics, continue to be skeptics, because I'm going to go change business. You guys do what you want to do, but I see the future.
There will be people springing up. It won't be the people who are used to the 30 and 60 second and 15 second spots, because they will be dinosaurs. Nature abhors a vacuum.
Am I still having a marketing career? I really don't know. I think I might. And so if what I'm doing is a marketing career, then there's a lot of space to find what you want to do and what you want to spend your time on. Too many people get in and they say, well, this is just the way it is. Never going to change. My job's never going to feel good because my job is X and I need that paycheck. And I think that it's just not true.
People that are unwilling to stick their necks out, unwilling to change, unwilling to accept risk, eventually lose it all in the end.
Every single thing we do on this planet and in our jobs and in our daily life is either, if you get really intense about it, it's either helping save the world or maybe contributing to its death. And it could be 51% and 49%. It could be just the tiniest thing. Everybody is responsible. And brands more than anybody, because a lot of times they're contributing to the unhealthy cycles of consumerism that contribute to the death of the planet.
We all know the planet is under pressure. One company is not going to change it. It needs to be many companies. And if we can start a movement, get more companies on board, yes, we can have a very meaningful impact on the planet.
In a transparent world, the consumer is a watchdog, a critic, a conscience, but also a champion, a collaborator. When a brand truly partners with its customers, interesting things can happen. A 26-year-old CEO can turn happiness into a business model. A soda company can empower communities. And a blue-chip corporation can lead a green revolution.
We used to think of you basically as the people we marketed to. Now you're part of the co-development process. It really is flipping marketing on its head to empower consumers to tell you what they want rather than you telling them what they should want. And that's a big shift.
If you look at the history of the world, somehow humanity has scraped and crawled and gotten a little bit more power and a little bit more control all the way, but it hasn't been easy. The great powers have been, there was the kings, that there was the church, then there was the state, and now there's corporations. I don't think it can end with corporations as the greatest power on earth. I think it ends with humanity itself.